All right, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining our Lunch and Learn today. I'm Jennifer Salacci, and I'm the Manager of Communication and Partnership Engagement for the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. We're so glad that you were able to join us for our Lunch and Learn, and we hope that you had the opportunity to watch the documentary film Works Untapped Resource ahead of time. And if not, you can watch on July 2nd at 8:30 p.m. on Rocky Mountain PBS. We'll also be posting the film on our websites and social media channels. For our Lunch and Learn today, we're going to start with a few comments in a short video from the Lieutenant Governor, Diane Primavera, who was also a co-producer of the film. We'll hear comments from the Film Commissioner of the Colorado Office of Film, Television, and Media. We'll hear from the Executive Director of the Department of Labor and Employment and the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation's Director. We'll then move into our talkback portion of the event with a moderated discussion with the filmmaker, Matt Getz, and a few stars of the film. We're going to end with plenty of time for your questions. And when you have any questions, please be sure to use the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen to submit those questions, and only use that chat box if you're having any technical difficulties. Also, you can access closed captioning link in the chat box. So with that, again, welcome to everybody. We're going to start with the video from our Lieutenant Governor.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera, and thank you all for joining this momentous event. This project means a great deal to me. It has been an honor to be part of this film. It was also a great pleasure to work with such amazing partners, including Betsy Markey from the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade, Donald Zuckerman and Mariel Rodriguez McGill with the Colorado Office of Film, Television, and Media, members of my staff, including Caitlin Adams, who is now at the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, working to make the state a model employer for people with disabilities, Kristen Karash and her team at the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation within the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, Matt Getz, who captured the individuals featured in the film in the way that only another person with a disability could, and of course the stars of the film, Brady Haynes, Serena Gilbert, Molly Hansen, and Tom Maloney. Thank you all for your work. As many of you likely know, I spent much of my early career in the disability employment field at the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. I also worked with a not-for-profit employment support provider. The issue of disability employment has remained important throughout my entire career. And I've known for decades what this film is, helping to share with a larger viewership that people with disabilities are works' untapped potential. As a legislator and co-sponsor of Senate Bill 15-239, I worked to improve the Colorado Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, including moving the division to the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. I also worked to create a path to prosperity as a co-sponsor of House Bill 8-1072, creating the Medicaid buy-in for working adults with disabilities. Medicaid provides critical services and support for many people with disabilities, helping them with their daily living so that they can pursue employment. Great strides have been made to improve disability employment rates and wages, but the rates of unemployment and underemployment for people with disabilities remain woefully high in comparison to people without disabilities, as Kristen Karash will detail later. This isn't just unfortunate, but it's short-sighted. Giving individuals the support they need to succeed in their jobs increases their ability to be self-reliant and delivers a sense of purpose, self-worth, and confidence. But investing in job support and job opportunities for individuals with disabilities is not just an investment in those individuals. People with disabilities bring incredible talent, experience, and tenacity to the workplace. When organizations decide to tap into the talent pool of individuals with disabilities, they gain dependable, motivated employees who are truly engaged in their work. And supporting people with disabilities empowers them to contribute to our communities, economy, and our state. It makes our society richer and more diverse and increases the day-to-day visibility of individuals with disabilities, which helps to remove stigma and promote inclusion. So telling this story is part of what this film does. I want to close by again thanking everyone involved in the making of this film and Rocky Mountain PBS for continuing to air great Colorado films showcasing our amazing state. Thank you again for joining us today.
And I believe all of us thank the Lieutenant Governor for her hard work and continued support and engagement for all people, including those people with disabilities. I'd like to now introduce Donald Zuckerman, who is the Film Commissioner of the Colorado Office of Film, Television, and Media.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor and Jennifer. Last spring, the Lieutenant Governor convened a meeting with state leaders concerned about the high unemployment rate for people with disabilities. Marielle Rodriguez-McGill and I were fortunate to be included, and the concept was conceived for a half-hour show for PBS, wherein we would select and follow several workers with disabilities and include statewide geographic, racial, and biologic diversity. And if possible, the show would be directed by a person who's disabled. Marielle did a brief search and found the very talented Matt Getz, who did a superb job directing the show. And what emerged is proof of the concept, a film about people in the workplace who happen to have a disability. Casting was simple since many potential candidates emerged. There are many, many Coloradans like the people showcased in this film, either currently in the workplace or waiting to be hired by employers willing to open their minds and perhaps their heart. Enjoy Works Untapped Resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don, for your comments. Let's hear now from Joe Barela, who is the Executive Director of the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to take the opportunity to hear us talk about the tremendous film that was put together by the people here at the Department of Labor, those who helped the Department of Labor, and OEDIT. I think I couldn't say it more eloquently than the Lieutenant Governor of how important it is that we focus on the employability of all people in Colorado. Governor Polis is dedicated to making sure that we create a Colorado that works for everyone, and persons with disability is included in that everyone. And so the efforts and the resources that we can put towards this effort through the Department of Labor and our Division of Vocational Rehabilitations is so important to make sure that people in Colorado have the opportunity to reach their full potential. It takes a lot of people working together and in synergy to make sure that we create opportunities that are successful for the worker, but also for our businesses and industries so they can see the value that people can bring to their work. So I commend everyone involved in making this film, and I hope we have the opportunity to spread the word and make sure that people have the opportunity to take 30 minutes out of our busy lives and learn the tremendous stories of the people that are stars of our film today. So thank you, Jennifer, and I'm so glad that we could be a part of this.
Thank you, Joe. And I'm now so proud to introduce Kristen Karash, who is the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation's Director.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm so glad to get to join with you today to talk about this film and the importance of really bringing prosperity for people with disabilities. That's something that we're focused on here at the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, is how can we increase employment, how can we increase wages, and how can we get people out of poverty. So we're really about empowering folks to have great jobs that have a career path and an opportunity for them long term. This film is such a joy, and I got to do this when I first started at the division and be part of something that is really great. I am so appreciative of all of the folks who thought of this and put it together, provided the funding, found a great director in Matt Getz. Matt was absolutely wonderful and very thoughtful and pulled this together so well, really introducing us to each of these wonderful people who just happen to have a disability and have been so successful in their work. So I hope that you enjoyed the film if you got to see it, and if you haven't yet, I hope that you'll watch it. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Kristen, and thanks again to Donald and Joe. I'm going to introduce now our panelists for today's moderated discussion. We're going to start off with Matt Getz. Again, he was the writer, director, and editor of Works Untapped Resource. Brady Haynes, he was featured in the film. He was the farmer in Northeast Colorado. Taryn Riley's joining us, and she is Brady's vocational rehabilitation counselor. Serena Gilbert, featured in the film. Serena is a regional lead counselor for transitioning youth with the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And Tom Maloney, featured in the film, and he's the resale and digital marketing manager for Blue Star Recyclers. So we're going to start off with our moderated discussion, and we're going to have a first question for any of the panelists who'd like to take it on. What do you hope people take away from watching this film?
I guess I'll start. This is Tom. I hope people realize that people with a disability can do the jobs everybody else can. They sometimes in a different way, but maybe even better. Just got to have the patience. Slow and steady wins the race, but you'll have an employee that stays forever, pretty much. Like here at Blue Star, we have almost no turnover, and almost no lost time. So,
thank you, Tom. Would anybody else like to address what we hope people are going to take away from watching this film?
Yeah, this is Brady. I would like people to take away that you don't have to be nervous as an employer about hiring people with disability. People with disabilities, if they want to work, they'll figure out a way to do it. With people like Taryn Riley and the folks at DVR, there's going to be a way to do it. So don't hesitate based on fear of what you have to do to accommodate them. They'll figure a way out.
Thank you, Brady. I'm going to go for our second question. And Matt, this is directed to you. What are some of the unexpected benefits of hiring people with disabilities that surprised you during the making of the film?
So from my standpoint, my experience throughout this whole process as an indie filmmaker, it was just the sort of the diversity of roles that people were in. And my aim too was, and what I learned, of course, I already know, is just the competence level of people, their skill, their knowledge, and the additional resourcefulness, just kind of other intangibles that people bring, because as I think someone maybe have mentioned it, I think people, what I've found is they just have a little bit of extra tenacity beyond the, barriers to entry for, the qualifications for a certain position. So that's what I found in terms of my experience with making this film and meeting all these different people. The other thing I would just want to like to point out is I just love to be able to travel around Colorado from northeast to southwest, and more than that, just to meet all the different participants and subjects. So, and I really appreciate all the people who participated, like Brady, Tom, Molly, Serena, and then you guys trusted me.
Thank you, Matt. And just a reminder, if any of our audience has any questions, please enter them in the Q&A box, and we will have plenty of time to get to your questions. All right, here's a question for the stars of the film. Can you tell us what it was like participating in the documentary, and what do you hope audiences will learn from your story?
This is Serena, And at first, I really enjoyed participating in the filming of the documentary. Matt's a really awesome director and producer, and helps you kind of feel comfortable and almost forget that there's a camera pointed at you. But sometimes during the shooting, you get a lot of attention because everyone's like, hey, there's a guy following you around and filming you. What's going on? But I really, really had a ton of fun. And I'm sorry, Jennifer, I'm not good with two-part questions. What was the second part of your question?
What do you hope that audiences will learn from your story?
I would hope that they learn that we, like some of the other panelists said, that we are super competent and capable workers. We just have a different way of doing things. We might use a different level of technology than you're used to seeing, or we might just have a different approach to getting the job done. But at the end of the day, we will definitely get the job done really well for you.
Thank you, Serena. Anybody else who are the stars of our film joining us?
I guess I can talk a little bit again, Tom again. So I really liked participating in the filmmaking. I actually, was my original degree was in filmmaking, so it was nice to kind of like, oh, I know how this is and how this goes. But yeah, it's great to get more representation and visibility out there. And I sort of covered what I want people to get from my story in the first part. But yeah, just again, it's might take a different way of looking at things, but we can definitely get most jobs done, some jobs done even better.
Thank you, Tom. Brady or Taryn?
I just really appreciated what Matt brought to the table. He was really easy to work with. He just kind of did his thing, and it was kind of it was interesting watching him do his portion of it, film it alone, and how he kind of set things up. I had never seen anything like that, like how the forethought that went into it. It wasn't just, I'll throw a handy cam on and follow you around for a little while. He actually he definitely put a lot of thought into it, and it was really kind of eye-opening and educational just to watch him work and to be a part of the process. It was pretty cool. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Brady. All right, I'm going to move to our next question, which is for anybody who'd like to tackle it, or all of you. It's a two-part question, just a heads up. What would you say to a business owner to help them be more welcoming of applicants with disabilities? And what do you think can happen to make sure that the application process can be more inclusive?
Well, I'll take on the second part of that. So one thing, and I believe, Tom, you mentioned it, or maybe the individuals that you work with at Blue Star, but I am a huge, huge fan of, if possible, having working interviews for our applicants that have disabilities, or really anyone. As we know, an interview sometimes is a test of how well somebody can interview and how well they can answer questions, but it doesn't necessarily give them that opportunity to show their level of competence or performance on your work tasks. And that might show you exactly how well an individual might fit in with your company and do exactly what you'd like for them to do for you.
Thank you, Serena.
I think one more addition to that is, Brady and I have actually talked. I think just make sure that you're choosing the person based on qualifications. I think people just want to feel like they've actually earned it, like a meritocracy. So.
I agree with Matt. I think that I think the impetus most of it is on the person that's going for the job, not necessarily the employer. I think that if you have the right attitude and you go in there, and when you meet up with folks, for the most part, people will work with you. You just have to give them a chance to work with you and give you a shot. You can't expect them from day one to set everything up specifically for you. A lot of times you're not the only candidate for the job, so you got to keep that in mind a little bit too. And also, you do bring value to the table, so present yourself as a person that's going to be valuable to their business. I think a lot of it is on the people being employed too.
Very well said. Any other comments on this of how a business owner can be more welcoming for people with disabilities?
Jennifer, this is Joe. If I could just add, I think, important to the Department of Labor and the governor, one of our wildly important goals for this coming year is to really look at how we can help employers look at skills-based hiring practices and help them. Serena mentioned performance-based or demonstrated interviews where you really ask your participants, do they have the skills, competencies, and knowledge to do the job, rather than just looking at their resume and basing it on a degree or years of experience. If we could get employers to really embrace skills-based hiring and hire right for the job based on the job description, I think it opens so many doors for people who otherwise would be shut out. It really diversifies the talent pool, but it also is a better match when you hire correctly for promotional opportunities as far as job retention as well. I think the other opportunity is in this new normal world post-COVID or during COVID, as an applicant, really look at fine-tuning your virtual interview skills, because a lot of the job applications or interview process will be handled virtually, and you need to be sure to make sure you're comfortable with technology so that you can demonstrate to an employer that you're the right candidate for the job.
Thank you, Joe. This is, in a sense, a follow-up question, and it's our last question for our panelists. What are some resources for business owners who don't know where to begin with hiring people with disabilities?
Well, I can start with that. This is Kristen Korash from the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, and a great place to be able to go is our division. We have business outreach specialists who provide services to businesses. Not only will they help you to fill the positions that you have, but they'll also give you ideas and support for how best to provide services for your employees and also how to retain them. They have really great resources for you. We also are very fortunate in this state to have the ADA Center down in Pueblo that people have access to. So there are resources for you to be able to find folks who are a great fit for your business needs.
I would like to add, because my background is I work with all young adults, so individuals maybe 15 to 24. And we have special programs and services that we provide to our young adults to help them get exposure to work and career pathways. So one resource that we would love if you would partner with us on as well is being open to having our young adults come and maybe take a tour of your company to learn about what it is you do and how you do it, and what the qualifications and education requirements would be for if a young adult wanted to go on that career pathway. And that would help just immensely, because we have a very motivated young adult generation coming up. They all have wonderful, huge, big dreams, and they're all very motivated and very dedicated to participating in our programs right now.
Thanks, Serena.
This is Tom again. I'd say also being open to apprenticeships, not just a tour, but also being open to having people come in and actually kind of like the experiential interview, helping people apprentice and learn by doing. It's a great way to get more people in who have disabilities.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tom. Any other final comments from our panelists before we move into our Q&A session with the audience?
I'll just throw in there for people who are, disabled for whatever, disability, that form of disability that you have. This is just my experience. I don't know how anyone else has done it. One is building skills and knowledge bases, and also continually adding to those, kind of maybe at times reinventing yourself and those kind of things. But to find, what you want to be good at, or what you would like to do, just figure out what you actually like to do in the first place. And that may just come later on in life, but just to also build the knowledge and skill sets around that as you get, progress in the career, and you'll find like common themes throughout what you do. So that's just been my experience. And then also, so there's that practical stuff. Part of that knowledge base too is just maybe going back to school and getting an extra degree here and there.
Thank you, Matt. We've had several questions come in. Our first question was more of a comment from Teresa. She's with the Colorado Office of Employment First. She says, I wanted to say thank you for the specific perspectives from the employed individuals with disabilities. Very powerful insight. Thanks, Teresa. Our next question is for you all. What recommendations do you have for employers who would like to reach out to people with disabilities as potential employees? Anything more that you would like to add to from the folks who have touched on this?
I pretty much covered it.
Please, everybody out there, do know that the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation is just one of the entities out there that supports hiring people with disabilities. We can provide technical assistance and also point you in some directions. So thank you for that question. This question is to Taryn and Serena. Half the battle is getting people with disabilities connected with opportunity, is actually getting them connected. Taryn and Serena, can you please share how you connect with your clients to open up the doors of possibility?
Yeah, so I know in my local office in Sterling, I partner a lot with AgriAbility, I partner with our local workforce center. We have vendors, job placement providers, and just, really kind of working as a team, and not just, it's oftentimes not just me and the client, it's me and the client and then, someone else. So just, knowing your community and your resources and how you can kind of partner with other individuals and collaborate to, help each other.
And I would agree with Taryn. With the population that I work with, I partner with the local school districts as well, in addition to some really creative service providers that will help the young adults that I'm working with. For example, if they're interested in going into a nursing field, just as an example, they might go out there and find nurses for them to talk to really learn about that. They'll go with them to the college to help them explore what does it look like to take a nursing program at the community college or at the university. We even had one that was lucky enough to get what we call paid work experience, but would be equated to, think of it as a paid internship, working side by side with a case management nurse to be able to learn exactly what that job might entail. So I don't want to say like we can do just about anything in regards to creativity and getting people experience and getting connected with employers and community partners.
Thank you both, Serena and Taryn. Our next question is for Brady and Tom. What made this employment different from any past employment experiences? What do you think made your current job, your employment, a success as compared to your past?
Well, for me, one thing is I wasn't diagnosed until fairly late. I was 30 by the time I got my diagnosis, but so I've been working kind of, jobs, mostly seasonal work and that kind of stuff. This is the job like, hey, I knew I knew going in, there's a place that I experienced with autism, a place where, people that, I knew I had it. It was a kind of and so I've actually been able to actually work full time and have a salary and benefits and that kind of stuff. And it's been a real change from knowing that I have a disability and knowing that they know how to deal with it also.
Thanks so much, Tom. Brady, anything to add about what has made your current employment any different from past experiences?
Probably just I actually let people help this time with the support from Agribility and from DVR. Taryn, hi Taryn, it's good to see you. Those folks have really helped me out a lot. Just adaptive equipment wise, it's made a lot possible that before I was just trying to do it on my own, and I kind of took some hard knocks because of it. And then I met the folks at DVR and Agribility, and they really smooth things out for me. I really appreciate them.
Thank you. We all need the support of our partners and others in the community to make anything work for us. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Our next question is, I'm going to read it to you because there's a lot there. It says, excellent documentary. Congratulations to all involved, both in front and behind the camera. Do the filmmakers plan on submitting this film to film festivals, online film platforms or outlets, instant streaming devices, as well as submitting this film to the short documentary film contest through the Movie Academy? And he says the Oscars, that could be pretty fun. Also, in terms of reaching other audience members outside of Rocky Mountain PBS, are there any other marketing or advertising opportunities to promote this film? What do you guys think?
For me, first of all, because I was paid by the Colorado Film and Television Media Department, it's not mine, but what I can say about that though is there's a media access awards. So the person or the vendor who I asked to do the audio description, he lives in Los Angeles, and I used to work in Los Angeles, and so he mentioned to submit it to media access awards. So for other outlets and for marketing and promoting this and pushing it out there, I think that's that. I think there's the Rocky Mountain. I'm not sure. Is there a Rocky Mountain Film Festival? But yeah, I would definitely like to put it out there to as many outlets and just get it out there. I also know that universities are interested in seeing this for their, social concerns, disability programs and centers that they have and things like that. So to make it accessible and available online. So media access awards, that, and then I don't know. So it's kind of up to, I think, Donald and Marielle, see if they want to pursue that any further.
Thanks, Matt, and thank you for the support of the film. Some of the other suggestions from the individual was showing the film at the Pikes Peak Film Forum or through the Denver Film Society. So more to come on that, everyone. Our next question, do any of the panelists have further plans to promote employment of persons experiencing disability in the community or with employers? This could be through presentations, videos, speaking engagements. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, I'm always up for talking up, what we do here and helping people get jobs, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely something we always try to do here at Blue Star is, community outreach, and we'll talk at any conference or anything you want. I went to the Social Enterprise World Forum in Scotland a couple years ago with Blue Star and presented there on our enterprise. So yeah, always good. Always happy to reach out.
I actually do have lots of plans to continue promoting employment. I'm lucky enough to be participating in a program through the American Foundation for the Blind right now that is promoting opportunities to demonstrate and help bring up blind leaders in the industry and things like that as well.
Thank you, Tom and Serena. Our next question is, many employers subscribe to the myth that hiring people with disabilities may be very costly due to accommodations needed by a potential employee. How do you help educate those employers about the true costs of accommodations?
So this is Serena again, I'm sorry. The reality of a lot of accommodations is that sometimes they're extremely low tech. For some individuals, it could be maybe an ergonomic keyboard or an ergonomic office chair, which are things that are usually commonplace in an office anyways. And then I would also add that although there might be some upfront accommodations, there's longevity and employees that have disabilities. Statistically, we do not leave jobs nearly as often as individuals without disabilities. And we're typically more productive as well. There's also tax credits available through the Work Opportunity Tax Credit I think it's through the federal government, to help offset any accommodation costs as well.
Yeah, sort of taking on to that and to the end there about it being, you make up for the cost because like folks with, they came and did a time on task study here for, they looked at our guys and how much of time they spend actually working and not on the phones and not, that sort of thing. And it was about 95% time on task, which the average population is about 50%. So, it would take us a bit longer. Might take us a bit longer to train to do a job, or we need a little bit of adjustments to learn how to do it properly. But once we're doing the job, it's it's much more productive. The industry we're in, I think we talked about in the film, has like a 300% turnover rate. Because it's recycling, it's manufacturing, it's kind of some of it's repetitive work, but we have almost no turnover, and we've been actually doing well when most of the industry has been on a downward turn.
I think there's there's a lot of variables and kind of like moving parts to answer this question. It depends. If it's a large organization, you're filling an online application, through their system, and so you can choose to self-identify yourself. And that may put you into a maybe quota bucket or something like that. And so they don't really know what kind. So they may just give that courtesy to interview you. The other is that if it's a small business or something like that, I think Aaron Sprague, the farm owner in the video kind of addressed that. Don't make assumptions from the employer's point of view. Don't make assumptions, and then have a conversation to see what is needed. So, I would just throw those two things in there.
I would add to what you said, Matt, in regards to on the other side of the table is the individual with a disability that's job searching. Be proactive in discussing how you are able to do your job. Many of our employers maybe aren't as familiar with the type of disability that you have and lack that exposure. So if you can proactively say, here's what I do, here's how I do my job, here's how I've been successful in the past in performing these types of tasks, that will help remove any questions that they might have in the back of their minds during your interview process or your hiring process.
As the person getting employed, don't put all of it on the employer either. Let them know that there's a way to work through it. If there are accommodations that need to be met, there's resources available. We just have to figure out what needs to be done and work on it together, like you're going to be working together doing the job that they hire you to do. It's not going to be any different. It's just going to be, it might take a little bit of time, but you get it figured out. Just don't have any preconceived notions of what you have to do, what you have to change. You might not have to change anything. So at least have the conversation with them.
Thank you all. I'm going to move us on because we have about 10 more questions that are out there. Thanks for our audience for bringing in some questions. Here's one of them. Centers for Independent Living can be a complementary resource for people working with DVR. Do any of the DVR offices partner with Centers for Independent Living?
Yeah, I know my office in Sterling, we have partnered with the office in Fort Morgan. You know, I have utilized them to get interpretive services for my clients, and I know the Fort Morgan DVR office really utilizes their local, you know, Center for Independent Living. Sometimes with DVR, there are things that our clients need that we can't necessarily help with, but you know, we can partner with them to make that happen.
And we also in Colorado Springs partner with the Independent Center that's located right in downtown Colorado Springs for a variety of services as well.
And I'm going to step out of my role as a moderator really quickly and say almost all of our offices across the state with Division of Vocational Rehabilitation work with our Centers for Independent Living. And in fact, DVR has a specific office within our agency called the Office of Independent Living Services, where we work to connect as much as possible with that valuable partner. Thank you for the question. Our next one is, for the individuals featured in the film, what is one thing that you are proud of accomplishing in your life so far? And along with that, could you talk about maybe one hurdle that you've had to overcome to gain meaningful employment?
So one thing that I am super proud of, and this actually takes us way back, is I used to be a client of DVR, and I received what's called orientation and mobility services from specialists that work for our division. And when I first started working with DVR, I had some adjustment things I had to go through in regards to being mobile in my community and getting around safely, using the white cane, all that wonderful stuff. Through receiving those services, I was able to overcome that hurdle. And that's actually something that I'm incredibly proud of is, gosh, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined that I'd be traveling up to Denver independently and doing it confidently without any hiccups or anxiety about it. And now that's something that I'm able to do without even thinking about it if I need to get to downtown Denver.
I finished my education, which was great. That was kind of that was a big deal for me. I finished up college, and as soon as I did that, I kind of struck out on my own, and it gave me a lot of confidence. I know that.
I think for me also one of my big accomplishments is travel also. Like, you know, I my partner lives in Scotland, and so I've visited her a couple of times on my own and navigated all the flights and everything else and finding my way around the city. And that's also been one of the hurdles for employment is I don't drive, so and learning public transportation and buses, and now with the ride sharing apps also helps too. But you know, it took me like a lot of jobs will require a driver's license. You know, I haven't ever been able to get.
I'm glad that you said that, Tom, because often we in the Department of Labor and Employment and DVR do see that employers are asking for a driver's license. And that really speaks to the point that Joe Barela was mentioning earlier. Are we really looking at competencies and skills base? And from the lens of, is a driver's license an essential portion of that job? So I would really encourage employers to look at that when you're saying a driver's license is required. Is it truly an essential piece of that individual's job? Or is it instead ability to travel or ability to move to and from different places where, as Serena said, there's a lot of different options that people can still travel whether they have a driver's license or not. So thank you for that. I'm going to move to a different type of question. There's a group participating in the QA, and so thankful that you guys are watching. They ask, what is the state of Colorado doing to address the wage disparity for people with disabilities? I'm going to look to Kristen to answer that, or maybe give it a start.
So this is Kristen. I'm not exactly sure what the context of the question is, if we're in state government or in the state of Colorado. So some of the things that we're doing within the state are things like this film, getting the word out, letting people know that people with disabilities absolutely have skills and abilities that will provide value to employers. And we're always looking for good wages. So the people that we place in jobs, we're looking for at least minimum wage. Our goal is much higher than minimum wage for people who find employment through DVR. And we're focusing on career pathways, and we're focusing on labor market information that shows us what kind of jobs have opportunities into the future, so that people can continue to earn. And we're hoping to encourage continuous learning. I think that Matt brought that up about always needing to reinvent ourselves to get new skills and new abilities and stay up to date. And I think that Joe Barela also mentioned the importance of having skills to be able to interview virtually. So in this new world that we're living in the moment, where so much is done virtually, we have lots of opportunity to continue to learn and grow and make ourselves marketable, and therefore you get paid more. When you are more competent, you have more skills, you get paid more. So those are the kind of things that we're doing. And we're not just doing it within DVR, which we absolutely are, but the whole workforce system is focusing on this, really looking at industries, supporting industries that are growing, helping them to get employees that have skills, helping skill up employees, job seekers, so that they can get those great jobs. So it's really all of that working together.
Thanks, Kristen. I'm going to switch directions a little bit to our panelists. Do any of you have experience working and needing to manage your benefits programs, such as Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or medical coverage? If yes, how has this worked and what has been your experience? And have any of you ever used any benefits counseling services?
So I actually received SSI benefits when I was younger, before I started working full-time for DVR. And the way that it worked for me is my DVR counselor at the time actually helped me navigate through that system to make sure I understood exactly how the trial work period would work and how to submit my wages and things like that, and to eventually transition off of those benefits to be able to have the full-time wage that I earn.
I think that the disability thing, I used disability for a while when I was going to school, and it was kind of helpful, but at the same time, they do have programs. I think it was like Ticket to Work or something like that through the Social Security Administration. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think that some disabled people that receive those monies, they don't necessarily get discouraged about trying to go for something better. It's just they feel they kind of get painted into a box, and there's not really enough, and they don't make enough for their lives to get a whole lot better from the benefit side, but they don't want to take that leap to say, hey, I'm going to take this wage earning on myself. I don't need SSI anymore, so and I can provide for myself. I think that some people kind of get locked into that idea that they can't do that, and that's incorrect. I don't think that that's a very productive way to to live your life. I think you gotta, you have to put yourself out there.
Thank you, Brady. All right, here is a question again for our panelists. Can you talk about what additional public or leadership roles you have taken or you might take to elevate awareness around hiring people with disabilities?
That's Tom. I mean, one of the, like I said, I love things like this, going on panels. You know, I run the social media for social media and digital marketing for Blue Star, so I do a lot of, you know, advocacy work and sharing stuff on social media. And because I've been reached out to by a couple of other boards just to, you know, help other autism societies and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm definitely planning on keeping doing outreach. That's also, there's a question earlier about the difference between this job and my old jobs. This one's, there's more meaning to it. There's, you know, it's a social enterprise. So, you know, we're doing stuff that means something as opposed to just, you know, just a seasonal wage, you know, job.
I think that's a great question. And I think for me, it would be part of my daily living, which is just working and volunteering. And so being an example that way versus perhaps going specifically to, you know, a certain approach. But I'm not opposed to it either. So if there's a organization that needs help, I'm happy to help.
Well, Matt, while we got you online, I got a couple questions for you. How has making this film inspired you to do other projects that might be similar?
Oh, man. As I said before, I do love to travel. So I appreciated going all around Colorado. It's really beautiful. And I do that all the time anyway, not now. But I would say this, I do like kind of meaty, substantive, meaningful stuff. And so I think, I talked to Brady about this. I think if you've ever encountered any kind of adversity, it helps you gain perspective, whether it's, you know, about yourself, life, and kind of compassion, and also helps you find a voice. So that being said, I think I would look for projects that, you know, you've figure out what needs to be said, what does the world need, and what needs to be said, and kind of pursue those kind of projects. I would love to do more. And as mentioned before too, in terms of just skills and stuff like that, I do have other skills. You know, like the current stuff, online learning. I mean, that's kind of my background for 9 years at 2 universities is developing online learning, designing, and, you know, hybrid learning, those kind of things, and setting that up while I was doing content creation. So, but I would love to pursue that and do more, and to do like things that mean stuff to me and what the world needs to hear, I think, from my perspective.
So along with that, Matt, can you talk about your process for deciding what makes the final cut? You must have had captured hours of film, and you did such a great job capturing those different experiences and personalities. So how do you decide what makes the final cut?
So let me just say this, that's the hardest part about filmmaking, is going out and meeting people and traveling. That's the fun part, you know. So the part of the process of the filmmaking is essentially the storylining part. And it's kind of like writing a big research paper. You just have so much data and so much material on how to organize it, select it, how to put it all pieces together. So I looked at it this way, and I had feedback from Marielle, which is to use kind of a person to have a through story, kind of a main, kind of an anchor. So I use Brady as that, and then I use Kristen as that. So Brady is a story, Kristen is kind of thematic, what I wanted to say here and there, and then to fit people into there. So that made it a lot easier. I had originally kind of a rough outline, but that was really rough compared to when you show up, you just deal with, you know, the circumstances as they are, and you get the footage as it comes. So but having those two helped me cut. So that's, yeah. And then to look for, and I also had a shot list of certain things that I wanted and certain sound bites that I wanted to. Sorry, shout out to the Independence Center in Colorado Springs and Roy Samuelson, who helped, who did the captioning and audio description.
Thanks, Matt. We've got a couple questions left. I'm going to end with a fun one. Not that this particular question isn't fun. For our panelists, what were some of the experiences you had as a young adult that led you into your current career?
Well, for me, I've always been a pretty big nerd. I've been taking stuff apart. I've been working on computers. I've been very active on the internet and social media and all that stuff since my internet age. Because I was pretty young. My internet age is pretty longer than some folks. And you know, coming here, we're like, oh, you mean we get to like test things and take stuff apart for a living? This is perfect. So just sort of, that's, you know, a part of my past, and then yeah, just fit in fit like a glove, I think.
I'll say my experience, and I'll say it from this kind of way, it's kind of weird, but I think when you're disabled and you're young, you have like, you're insecure, or at least I was, and you know, you have low self-esteem and those kind of things. And so for me, I was always driven to prove myself. And so that's why, like, I have a big work background. It's not, you know, not just filmmaking. So just that, and then getting a couple of master's degrees, that kind of helps me with, you know, the analytical skills plus the creativity.
I was born into agriculture, like 4th or 5th generation. So it just kind of, that's what we do. So, yeah.
For me, it was my previous experience being a client of DVR, and that kind of opening my eyes to wanting to turn the tables a little bit and be able to help individuals that are in my same spot that I was back then, to help them be able to get into careers and start earning some money.
Thank you all. I'm going to end on a fun question. Says, Matt, you produced a beautiful film and thank you so much. I want to know if there are any bloopers during the filming that stood out.
Man, probably like, yeah, I think with like, you know, Blue Star, I had to do a total retake with the interviews because audio wasn't, I had so much different equipment going that on one, I just didn't have the audio running. So I didn't record the audio. So I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Can you come back? Oh, Kristen, don't shake your head. That's a total common rookie mistake. I think just other things, just it's there's so many moving parts when you're doing that. Just making sure everything is synced, everything is on, and those kind of things. And but I had a lot of fun doing it. But that's the one thing that kind of stands out for me. The other is the Botanic Gardens. I had it all set up in somewhere, but we were right next to traffic, and so the audio didn't come out. So they were used as B-roll for a lot of the scenes. Yeah.
All right, thank you all. Thank you, panelists, for spending the time with us today. And to our audience, we're so glad that you could participate. Please know that this was recorded, and we will share this recording broadly, as well, again, as we'll be sharing Works Untapped Resource on various social media channels, our websites, and I feel positive that Marielle and the folks with the Colorado Office of Film, Television, and Media will look to submit the film for various festivals. Again, thank you so much. We're glad you participated. Remember that the film is showing on Rocky Mountain PBS on July 2nd at 8:30. It can be a pre-Independence Day activity for you. And with that, thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.